Hi everyone, my name is Mark Finlayson. I'm a Senior Security Solutions Architect on the security team here at CDI.
And I'm Nolan Forrest. I'm the team lead for the red team here at CDI.
The pre-sales is really where it starts with the gap assessment, listening carefully to the client's pain and then what their needs are, how many stakeholders that they would want to be part of the engagement, and then starting with a framework that makes sense for them, whether that's NIST, CIS, HIPAA, CMMC, whatever works for them. But often we find that NIST tends to be the gold standard and where we start, and often through that engagement, sometimes clients say, we're going to finish this and there's a lot of value coming out of it. However, then we want to move towards, as a second phase, something at a higher technical level, such as like ISO 27001 or SOC 2, things like that. But we're talking about conversational-based interviews with key stakeholders within the organization. And we're really trying to start to understand the IT processes, the technical processes, the operational processes of the organization to help them get to where they want to be optimally.
The perfect customer for a gap assessment is either a customer who doesn't know what they want, or it's a situation where you're trying to figure out, I know I need to do a ton of things and I don't know how to prioritize.
So we engage with clients in many ways with gap assessments. Sometimes they come to us knowing that they do need a gap assessment, and maybe that's because of a regulation or a requirement. Other times it's through conversation where we start to hear that a client is not ready maybe for a deeper red team experience just yet. They need a low-cost, low-effort way to start to understand where they are, where they'd like to be aspirationally, and then with a roadmap forward. The different gap assessment frameworks obviously have their strengths and weaknesses and are aligned to different industries or pain points. Starting with the NIST cybersecurity framework, that's kind of really the gold standard. And a lot of organizations start there. Now, it's a little bit more broad and open to interpretation, where if you went to something like the CIS controls, that's going to be a little bit more technical and deep diving and pointed of different technologies compared to the NIST, which is, as I mentioned, a little bit broader. And then we can get to some really technical frameworks. Just to name two, CMMC, that's the maturity model that was rolled out by the Defense Industrial Base for the Defense Industrial Base by the DoD starting in 2020. And then, of course, we have HIPAA, and that's very specific to what customers need when it comes to electronic personal information and how to protect that very sensitive data.
Often we see that customers find the NIST cybersecurity framework to be the best fit when they want to encompass the entire business, understand the business needs more in depth, and still touch on technology, but they really want to focus on the right technology for their business. And then we often find that CIS is right for the customer who really doesn't know where to go and wants a very direct or specific technical goals, and is less concerned about the entire business. We make this a conversation-based assessment. It's not interrogation. We try to make sure that the customer's talking just as much as we are. And it's a chance to really understand and hear the pain points and help the customer figure out what is the art of possible. We also take the realistic approach by breaking up the sessions. So instead of making this one long, hey, we've got to be in here today and we've got to be out tomorrow, we break it up because we know the customer has a day job, right? And the focus over the course of 4, 6, or 8 hours is not going to be the same as breaking up into 2-hour sessions and giving us a chance to be fresh during it.
It's that wider understanding that we have. Not only do we have the deep technical background, but also the business background and, of course, our deep bench of VCSOs.
The gap assessment blends really well into our cyber advisory program, which is really our security in the box service that we provide. So we believe in gap assessments enough that when we provide VCSO services or really the cyber advisory program over the course of a year or more, we always start off with a gap assessment. It's our way to really develop our roadmap, understand the business, understand the processes, understand the technologies that are in place. And it really helps us get a good understanding of our customer and then flow into our next year and our goal.
It's all starting with that foundation of the gap assessment, helping to make sure we are on the right track from the beginning.